Welcome to the Develop Yourself podcast, where we teach you everything you need to land your first job as a software developer by learning to develop yourself, your skills, your network, and more. I'm Brian, your host. You know, I've talked a whole lot about coding on this show, whether it's learning JavaScript, React, getting your first job. I'm not sick of talking about coding at all. But I also know that this is a time of year when people make a lot of resolutions. They're getting ready for the new year. They're thinking, I want to do this. I want to do that. Here's the habit I want to get. And I'm going to tell you one of the most powerful habits that I've developed over the years that helped me get sober and stay sober, and honestly has been my secret weapon for learning how to code and also accelerating in my career. It's something that you probably don't think about. Exercise, getting in shape. So I want to spend some time telling you all the pitfalls I made while trying to get in shape after 30, losing tons of weight, getting a six-pack finally, posing shirtless on my Instagram trainer's page, and how that's helped me out a lot, not only to, feel more confident, but how it's spilled over into other aspects of my life and how I see it as potentially your secret weapon for learning how to code. I also know that a ton of people who are listening to this show are dudes. About 80% of you out there, according to Spotify. Now, the advice I'm going to give you is obviously dude-centric. I am a dude, if it wasn't obvious. But this could be applied for women, for anybody out there who wants to get into better shape in the new year. So, about 10 years ago, I got sober. Many of you know that story. Stopped drinking, doing drugs, all sorts of terrible stuff. And when I stopped, I was 220 pounds. If you can't tell, if you're looking at this on YouTube, maybe you can tell, I'm not 220 pounds anymore. I'm around 185. And I'm going to cut down in the next year to, somewhere around the 175 mark. That's a real sweet spot for me. Now, I was exercising for quite a while after I got sober, but I wasn't seeing the results, which was really frustrating. I'll never forget this. I entered into a race where I actually won the race. It was one of those like mud races, Spartan race. It was 10 miles. We had obstacles and all this kind of stuff. And I get to the finish line and I win the race and I'm feeling pretty good. And then I look over and there's this dude that's way behind me. He comes in like 10th place, shirt off, ripped, right? And I'm thinking, damn, that dude looks way better shape than I am, but he couldn't even keep up with me in the race. I beat him by quite a lot. There were a few dudes like this. And I thought, what the hell are they doing that I'm not doing? So maybe you're doing a few of the mistakes that I'm going to share with you here that will help you to get into better shape in the new year, but also to maybe get that body type that you really want, where you can look pretty good shirtless, where you have visible abs and things like that. I used to believe that I just wasn't physically capable of having abs or a six-pack or anything like that. And if you're watching the show, I'll put a before and after picture of myself on here so you can see the before and after. Now, what made me think about this was the fact that the personal trainer I got about 5 years ago has recently been making headlines all across YouTube. His name is Wes Watson. He's blown up for all the wrong reasons on YouTube. In fact, if you Google his name, go check him out. He helped me out tremendously to learn a few core things that have helped me lose weight, keep it off, and get into better shape than I ever had been in my whole life. But he's been getting eaten up on the internet for being kind of a jerk. He's one of those dudes, fully tatted, shirt off, went to prison, super loud into the whole alpha male red pill space. And he's been just getting totally destroyed online. Whether you like him or hate him or don't care, I can say this. The stuff he taught me made a huge difference. It taught me what I was doing wrong and why I was exercising but not getting the results I really wanted. So whether you want to look good shirtless or spite your ex or just pick up another habit that will be more conducive to learning how to code, because I do know that spillover habits are a thing, meaning that if you pick up one good habit, it's more likely to spill over into other aspects of your life. And if you look at a lot of coders out there that come from non-traditional backgrounds that are career changers, they also will have like an exercise routine. I notice this is a really funny and interesting phenomenon that I've seen. So without further ado, here's the 3-step process I'd be using if I was you to get into the best shape of your life in the new year. Hey, I hope you're enjoying this episode. And the reason why a lot of people listen to this show is because they want to become a software engineer. So maybe you went to a boot camp, or maybe you're just learning to code. And maybe you want to make this the year that you actually become a software engineer. If that's you and you have the time and the dedication and you're not looking for some get-rich-quick scheme, you should join Zubin and I for a very customized program where we take you from zero through hired with an intensely personalized custom roadmap that we will help you see through step by step to get interviews, pass interviews, and learn the skills that'll make you a professional grade coder. If you're serious and want to start working with us one-on-one, then schedule a call by using the show notes below or apply online at parsity.io/inner-circle. Now back to the episode. Number one, obviously it all starts with diet. You've heard that saying, six-pack abs are made in the kitchen, not the gym. And this is 100% true. Back to that story of me running, I was wondering how I could complete a 10-mile race and do all these obstacles and get into first place in my age category and still not look like the dudes that I was running against. I was in better shape than them as far as running and doing the obstacles, but they looked like the look I wanted. So first thing, when I got with Wes Watson, first thing he told me to start doing was tracking my calories. I was eating way too much. And I was kind of like guessing throughout the day. I'd eat a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little snack here, a little snack there. And I was probably eating somewhere over the 2,000 calorie mark. Everybody's going to be different, so there's no magical number I can tell you. If you want a baseline for what it will take to lower your calories, one, go to MyFitnessPal and download that app. That is seriously the only app you really need for tracking calories. And I want you to track everything because we're going to get into some calorie math in a minute here for how to know when you should decrease or increase your calorie intake for the day. Now, here's the nice thing about a diet that I'm going to propose to you. You don't need to care about what you eat, honestly. I mean, you do for health reasons and heart reasons and stuff like that, but you don't actually have to care what you eat if your only goal is losing weight. You could eat Twinkies, Ho-Hos, McDonald's if all you want to do is lose weight. I don't care what other study you've read or what other thing you read online or all these foolish people trying to sell you these dumb supplements or weird diet routines. None of that matters. Calories in, calories out. It is simple mathematics and thermodynamics. If you are in a calorie surplus, you will gain weight. If you are in a calorie deficit, you will lose weight. So if you eat nothing but Twinkies and Ho-Hos and the calories that it takes to maintain your current weight are 2,000, but you're only eating 1,700 calories, you're going to lose weight. Now, if your calorie intake is 2,000 to maintain your body and you're eating 2,500, you're going to gain weight, right? This is not mind-blowing stuff here at all. So eating in 18-hour windows or 2-hour windows or a keto or whatever, that's fine if you want to do that. What it ends up doing ultimately is keeping you in a calorie deficit. So how do you know if you're in a calorie deficit or not? And how do you know when you should increase or decrease the number of calories you're eating? One, just start tracking everything. And you'll need to make a few staple meals. This way you really limit the factors that can have you guessing or making incorrect estimations of what you're eating. So what I like to do is buy basically packaged stuff that I know the calories immediately. So I'll buy a bunch of ground turkey and I'll cook up the ground turkey. I'll see the amount of calories and I'll cut it into 4 different meal preparations. So I know that every time I eat one of those meals, I'm eating 160 calories worth of ground turkey, for example. Or with my eggs, I'll buy a carton of egg whites and I'll say I'll eat half that carton for breakfast and I'll scramble it up. And I know that's 240 calories in that particular serving. That way I'm not guessing. I use a measuring cup. And if you want to go out and eat, don't. If you do that, you go out maybe once a day, maybe max, and you should always overestimate how much you're eating because food at restaurants tends to not be weighed out accurately, and it's really hard to tell what you're eating at that point. So as much as you can, limit how much you eat out and try to buy things that are really easy to do calorie math with. I also buy popcorn, and I buy popcorn as my snack to eat during the day. And you can buy low-calorie popcorn. This is the best way to snack, and it only is like a couple hundred calories if you eat a ton of it. So if you eat like 3 cups of popcorn, which is a pretty big bowl, you're only getting like 150 to 200 calories max off of that large bowl. And then for sweets, because I love sweets, I love eating all sorts of junk and candy and Peeps and things like that. I love that stuff, and I cannot let that go. So I buy a bag of Peeps from the store. That's 280 calories for 2 boxes of Peeps, right? And yeah, I'm gonna snarf that box of Peeps. You can't stop me. But now I know exactly how much I'm eating. So the more that you can buy things where it's really easy to understand the calories and the portions, the better and more accurate estimation of the calories you're eating you're going to have. So start off with this. Multiply your body weight times 10. And that's a good baseline for the amount of calories you should be eating per day. And really track this for like a solid 2 weeks. And over that 2 weeks, I want you to weigh yourself every single day. Now, usually you'll see fluctuations throughout the day. It's not abnormal to go up 5 pounds or decrease 5 pounds even in a day if you're an average sized dude. That's normal. It comes from eating too much salt or fat, or maybe you binge one night by accident or not by accident, and you eat too much junk and then you gain a bunch of water weight. Boo-hoo, so sad. That's why you track every single day. So you're always tracking in the morning. That's when you're going to be at your lowest weight. So it keeps you mentally motivated to do so. And then you have a good baseline. If you're weighing yourself at night and then in the morning and you're looking at those and trying to compare them, it's just not going to be accurate. So you need 2 weeks to see, okay, after all the fluctuations, about how much are you at now versus back when you started? If you're losing around a half pound per week, you're at a really, really good place. If you're losing around a quarter pound per week, still at a good place. When you plateau for more than 2 weeks, so after 2 weeks, you've been tracking pretty well and you reach a plateau where you're not losing any weight, then you should decrease the amount of calories by 100 to 200. Here's where calorie math comes in. This is step number 2. Know your mathematical numbers, son. There are 3,500 calories in a pound. So if you reverse engineer this, again, because I'm a software engineer, this is the first thing I think, reverse engineer this. How can I get rid of 3,500 calories a week or maybe over 2 weeks? Well, if you wanted to be really aggressive, super aggressive, don't go more aggressive than this. Trust me, I did this before. It'll wreck your metabolism. It'll really be frustrating when this happens, when you eat less, but you can't lose weight. So don't do what I did. I made a big mistake by eating way too little. I got down to 1,200 calories at one point. That is not sustainable for like most normal men. It was really, really not fun. I wouldn't suggest it. There's just no benefit to doing that. So lose weight slowly, because at some point when you plateau, because your body will eventually say, hey, you know what? Kind of used to not eating this much anymore. I'm done losing weight. So you got to keep the numbers high enough that you can decrease them a little bit without going too crazy. So back to that 3,500 number, right? So if you want to lose 3,500 calories, meaning being in a deficit. So whatever your baseline is, you've identified the baseline. Maybe you start at 1,800 calories a day. And if you're losing weight rapidly, increase it by 100. If you're not losing any weight at all, decrease it by 100. Hey, I hope you're enjoying this episode, and if you're interested in becoming a software developer, learning how to build complex software, and actually get hired, join me at Parsity.io. If you're serious about joining, just schedule a call with me by clicking the link in the show notes below. And at some point when you plateau, you say, okay, what do I want to do? So 500 calories per day, 7 days a week in a deficit. So if you're at 1,800, that would be 1,300 calories a day. If you're at 1,600, that would be 1,100 calories a day. That's a lot of calories that you're not eating. That's a really hard number to hit. So maybe you just decrease it by 250. Instead of 500 calorie deficit per day, maybe it's 250 per day. This is, again, if you're on an aggressive weight loss cut. You should be losing around half a pound per week based on simple math. Remember, always go back to the math. Always go back to your calculations. When I hear people saying, I'm only eating 1,200 calories a day, but I'm not losing weight, I am guilty of this myself. I was like, I'm only eating 1,200 calories a day. How is it possible I'm not losing any weight? It's because you're not really eating 1,200 calories a day. Look at all the snacks, the condiments, the portions that you're eating. Get a little food scale if you have to and weigh things out. It only costs $20. Go on Amazon, buy it right now, get it sent to your house, weigh out your food. Who cares what people think? People will think you're crazy until you get the results you want. And then it's like, well, I don't care what you think. I got the result I wanted. People always used to make fun of me. Oh, you don't eat this, you don't eat that. Your diet's too strict. You're weighing out your food. Oh, that's crazy. Do you have an eating disorder or something like that? No. If you want something, you got to go a little overboard to get it. Finally, third thing you should be doing is having some sort of exercise routine, which is actually the least important thing on this list. The calories and tracking your calories, that is really where all your effort should be going to. Really, the weight training thing is just icing on the cake. Because if you want to get a muscular body, or at least more muscular than you are now, one is that you're bound by your genetics. You can't cheat genetics. It took me forever to get a six-pack. My son, who can eat a bunch of junk, basically has one at 18. And I'm like, how do you do that? I never had one growing up. I didn't have one until I was 37 years old. That was the first time I saw my abs. So just understand, you are genetically bound by the limits of your ancestors, right? So maybe you're going to get all buff after doing a few weights. Maybe you're just never going to get that buff. I've been working out for a long time. I've never looked that muscular. I've gotten really lean, but I've never had like veins popping out, no matter how lean I got. Just my genetics, you know what I mean? So some people will be more vascular. Some people will have an easier time getting a six-pack. We're all starting at different places. So don't try to judge yourself based on what you see on YouTube or anything like that. That's a silly comparison to make, but take pictures of yourself all the time. So take shirtless pictures every week, and then you can track your progress, because a lot of times you won't notice, because it's so gradual, how much your body has changed. When I started taking pictures every Friday morning, I'd do a shirtless pic for myself, wouldn't share it to the world, or hey, if that's your thing, go ahead and do it. I'm all for it. I think you should do whatever the hell you want to do and not worry so much about what other people think. That's not a very fun way to live life, is it? But at least do it for yourself for the scientific purpose and the mental and emotional attachment you're going to get to the progress that you are making. You have to record your progress or else you won't even realize sometimes that you're even making progress. So your gym routine should be pretty simple. I do a split like this. I do legs on one day. This consists of doing leg presses, squat, leg extensions, and hamstring curls. Now, I used to mess up a ton by only doing like 10 reps, right? I would hit it 10 times, take a small break, hit it another 10 times, take a small break, another 10 times, and I'd wonder why my muscles weren't growing. This is the most important thing I've learned after years of going to the gym is that you need to go to near failure on your reps. If you can do 12 reps, you probably need to decrease the weight. If you can do only 5, you probably need to increase the weight. But whatever you're doing, make sure you're going to the point where your body's saying, I really can't do another one, and then try to do another one. This is the quickest way to promote muscle growth. You're not going to get muscle growth just going through the motions, right? And if you're a newbie in the gym, you're going to get a lot of gains just by doing this. I could have saved years of time to get a lot of the gains that I've gotten just this last year as far as putting on muscle mass by just going harder and actually going until failure. Going until failure doesn't mean like, oh my God, my arm's going to break off or my shoulder's killing me. It means going until your muscle is feeling that contraction to the point you're like, it's really straining to get out that last one, and then stop and maybe get one more out. Take a break, let your heart get back to a good resting place, which for me is about like 80 beats per minute, which is around where I feel pretty comfortable. And then I go back to doing it again. I don't usually use the clock too much anymore, but I will typically rest about a minute to a minute and a half between sets. So that's my leg day. I go through those few exercises and I do them till failure. It takes me around 30 to 45 minutes. I don't spend hours in the gym. I'm a pretty busy dude doing podcasts, running a business, also being a full-time software engineer and a father. So yeah, I'm not trying to spend 2 hours per day in the gym. I also go to the gym 5 to 6 days a week. You don't have to though, because I'm going to tell you the only 2 other exercise days that you really need to do. So we've gone through legs. The other day I do is chest and triceps. I'll usually do flies, meaning I'll go on one of those machines where you bring the weight inside, kind of like you are clapping your hands with weights. Those are called flies, chest flies. Those have been really good for me. I'm a little bit older. I don't want to hurt my shoulders, and I don't like to do flat bench presses, even though most dudes love doing bench presses. Hey, whatever floats your boat. Do bench press, do flies, and when you do them, for the love of God, do them with a upper chest bias, meaning the bar or the curls, meaning the weight should be about upper chest level, because upper chest is one of the hardest areas to work out for dudes. We cannot grow our upper chest. So if you're doing bench press, only do incline. Just do incline, never do flat on your back, because your lower chest is probably going to grow on its own. What you really need to work on is your upper chest. So always do incline bench press. I also do dips. I tend to do weighted dips by tying weight onto me when you're starting off. Just do dips. Again, go till failure. For triceps, I like doing the rope pull downs. So I'll do rope pull downs, and I'll always do about 3 to 5 sets of these things. And I'll do every single set till failure. Again, using that same weight strategy where if I can do more than 12, probably going too low on the weight. If I can do less than like 5 or 6, probably going too high on the weight, and I'll adjust it from there. My goal is to always be increasing steadily, whether it's 5 pounds or 2 pounds, or always increasing a little bit on that weight. I'll do around 2 sets of things for my triceps. That might be pull downs, might be overhead tricep extension, whatever feels good to you. Pick an exercise, learn how to do it. Don't worry so much about form. Worry about feeling that squeeze in your muscles and really feeling that contraction and doing it until you're getting really sore and you just can't do it anymore. I'll also do a little bit of shoulders. And with shoulders, I tend to use a pretty light weight. And I will do lateral raises where I just raise the weight on my sides up. And I will try to do as many of those as I can. Don't go too heavy on these. If you're an older dude especially, you don't want to hurt your shoulder because that could end up taking you out of the game for months. So warm up your shoulder a little bit, especially if you're 40 and above. I just messed up my shoulder this year. It took me 6 full months to get it back to normal. Okay, and my last day, my most favorite day that I do is back and biceps. This is by far my most favorite thing to do. And on this day, I will do pull-ups and I'll do a set of pull-ups until I can't. I'll just use body weight for the pull-ups. If you can't do pull-ups quite yet, do assisted pull-ups or do like the pull-down machine where you're grabbing the weight and you're literally just pulling it down. That's a really good one for your lats and for your back. And if you have a nice back, by the way, that'll give you more of that V shape that you're probably looking for. So if you're getting big lats, these muscles that are on the side of your body, it has the appearance of making you look a little thinner. So if you're going for that aesthetic look and you want to look more of a V shape, that's a really good way to promote that kind of shape as a dude or as a woman, right? And I'll also do seated rows where I'll have my back pretty upright and I'll do seated rows, do again, the same idea, 3 to 5 sets. For back, I usually do like 3 sets with a pretty heavy amount of weight because your back is pretty strong usually. For biceps, that's been the hardest muscle for me to grow. And one of the only ways I've learned how to grow my biceps in particular is by doing an incline curl where I'll lay down on a bench at a slight incline. I'll let my arms drop to the side and I will lift the weight at the side, being fully in that like laying down position almost. I'll be on an incline bench. I'll let it go back about 45 degrees. I'll drop my arms directly to the side and I will pump up my arms with 20 to 25 pounds until I just can't. Then I'll use the cables. Well, I'll just do your typical curl with a cable set with a straight bar using cables. So I'll get that straight bar, I'll attach it to the cables, and I will just pump that up and down using pretty good form. I go pretty slow on the decline and fairly fast on the incline. I see people just kind of throwing weight around. I think that's okay, especially if you're starting off, because you can actually get pretty good results doing that. But if you slow down your tempo a little bit and really burn those muscles out, you're just going to increase the speed at which you get the result that you want. And I'm all about getting faster results because it took me years before I got any of these results at all. Shout out to Wes Watson. No matter if you hate him or whatever, I got to shout out him because he's the first dude that taught me all this stuff and got me in the best shape of my life. Would I recommend you go and pay money to him? Do whatever makes sense to you. But I can only tell you which worked for me. And he did work for me. If you want that kind of information, if you find that valuable, paying a trainer, I don't see what's wrong with that. I paid a trainer because I was sick of going through the motions after years of working out and not getting the result I wanted. So yes, I paid a trainer. Same way I suggest people that are trying to learn how to code on their own, go pay a trainer, go to a school like Parsity, find a mentor, do something that helps you get the result faster, or just keep doing whatever you're doing and maybe never get the result. That's also an option. I mean, I was in decent health and shape, but I was not looking the way I wanted to look until I got a trainer that took away a few variables and told me a few key things, which got me. I paid thousands of dollars for that information, and I don't regret it one bit. Now, here's my last piece of advice specifically for you men out there. Here's the best tip I can probably give you, especially if you're a little bit of a hairier dude out there. No one really ever talks about this, and this is a little awkward. And maybe you think this is a little feminine, but I don't care. If you're a dude and you want to look more developed, let's say, if you want to show off more of your muscles, you want to look a little thinner, the best way to lose 5 pounds quickly is to simply shave all the hair off your body. Why do you think bodybuilders do that? You can call it feminine or weird or whatever, or think people are going to judge you. Look at any bodybuilder. They have to shave all their hair off because it makes them look more muscular. It allows you to see a lot more definition. So it makes you look skinny immediately. It shows off the definition that you may not have ever seen, especially if you're a really hairy dude. And lastly, get a tan. Why else do you think bodybuilders get tans? If you're darker, you tend to have more definition. So shaving and getting a tan for a lot of people can be the difference between looking all right to being like, whoa, that dude looks really in shape. Now, the thing is, only you would know that because only you are looking at yourself in the mirror and judging yourself. But if you're going to the beach or something like that, or you just want to find out how you'd look if you took away the hair, do it. I'm telling you. That is a huge difference right there alone. And most people don't ever talk about that. Just shave the hair off. Who cares? Who's going to judge you? If you want to look like it, look how you want to look. Now, don't worry. I'm not going to turn this into a fitness podcast. I know a lot of you out there don't care or you don't want to know. Maybe you're already in incredible shape. But I do notice that people that tend to pursue other habits, they bleed over into their main habits. So my main habit when I wanted to quit using drugs and alcohol, that was just like getting sober, and learning to code was like the big habit that I picked up. And then on the side of that, I picked up a couple other habits. One was writing. The other one was exercising. And they just bled over into each other. Like I noticed that the discipline and the long-term vision that I had to have to do exercise and kind of keep going to the gym, even when I didn't see immediate results, it directly affected the same way that I looked at coding. I'm like, okay, I'm going to write code and I'm going to suck at it for a while. eventually I guarantee I'll get better because there's only one way to increase my skill is by doing it and going through the motions every single day. I also knew that just going in and going through the motions wouldn't be enough at a certain point. You have to get deeper and better on those things that you're doing every day in order to see real results. Same thing with going to the gym. You can lift a weight like a Neanderthal every day and just kind of swing around weights and just look like a goofball. But the better you get at doing those small things, the more results you're going to see. So if you're learning how to write JavaScript, you want to keep progressively overloading yourself by learning more and more difficult concepts. Same thing with going to the gym. You want to progressively overload by adding more and more weight, having better form, doing more repetitions, adding more stuff, adding more variables into the mix to make you a stronger person. I also learned that no matter how good you are, there's always somebody better than you, and you cannot compare yourself to somebody you see in the gym. When you go to the gym, you're around the people that are in the best shape in your neighborhood. The average American doesn't look like the average person in the gym because the average American doesn't go to the gym. So when you're learning how to code and you're online, and you're seeing all this great code and you're seeing people that seem to know more than you, that's because you're seeing the top of the top people that have chosen to write online about their experience. So if you're comparing yourself to them, that's like going to the gym and comparing yourself to the fitness influencer that you see on Instagram. That's not the reality. The reality is the person you see down the street barely ever goes to the gym. But when you go to the gym and you start following fitness content, you'll see the best of the best. It's silly to compare yourself to those people. And lastly, there's one thing the gym showed me for sure. There's no age limits. I've seen 70-year-old women that are in insane shape, ripped, looking amazing. I've seen older dudes in there pumping more than I could, and they're in their 60s, some of these guys. Now, obviously, there's diminishing returns. I'm going to beat basically any 80-year-old dude I see in the gym in a weightlifting contest. I hope. I mean, that'd be a little embarrassing if I couldn't. But some of these people are in amazing shape, and a lot of them started working out when they were in their 40s and 50s. My mother, for example, is in the best shape of her life in her 60s compared to her 40s. So age is not just a number, but it's a silly reason to start or stop a habit like coding or working out, right? I don't want to be super cliche and be like, you're never too old to start doing anything you want. I partially believe that, but I'll be honest, if you're like 60 or 70, learning how to code to switch careers is probably not a great idea at that point. But if you're 40, then yeah, like you shouldn't even think about that as a reason why not to do it. Like, what's the cost of learning? Time, maybe some money, and then getting potentially an excellent career where you make a ton more. Or if you're thinking about getting into shape at like 40 and you got kids, you're like, oh, I'm just done now. Why? You're going to be alive for hopefully another 40 plus years. Why not be in good shape and get more money during that time? As usual, I hope that's helpful. I hope the advice I gave you is decent. And I will, as a big bonus in the description, in the show notes, you're going to see my workout plan and my diet routine that I hope helps you out and gives you some advice on what to do and hopefully avoid years of bumbling around like I did. See you around. That'll do it for today's episode of the Develop Yourself podcast. If you're serious about switching careers and becoming a software developer and building complex software and want to work directly with me and my team, go to Parsity.io. And if you want more information, feel free to schedule a chat by just clicking the link in the show notes. See you next week.